Hello class, welcome to Unit 4, coming to you again from my mobile office. This week is a busy week as we have hit the halfway point in class, and not only do you have your work for Unit 4, you're going to begin working on your teamwork for the units moving forward. In this week's discussion board, you are talking about coalitions. And what a coalition is when multiple parties team up on the same side of an issue, and how that can be an advantage or disadvantage when it comes to negotiations. And so as you're thinking about the questions this week, you're tasked with coming up with examples of when a coalition was effective or when it was not effective. There are times when we do join forces with the purpose of sharing common interests and sharing common outcomes, but for a variety of reasons that may not have been the right move. So for example, from a political standpoint, it may make sense for different people to join forces, but whatever the political temperature is, and political, I just don't mean our normal politics. I mean, relationships between people, relationships between companies, people that can play together nicely in the sandbox. That all falls underneath the political umbrella. And it is, does that make sense? Because I can tell you right now that there have been several times in my professional life that when it comes to negotiation, whether formally or informally, that there's been, people who do have a similar interest and have a similar outcome to that. But I also knew that we are all guilty by association. And so it really is, do you want to be guilty by association? Because is that relationship, even though, yes, interests are aligned, does it make sense? And how do you make those decisions going forward? So you're tasked with coming up with some examples. I always like to somewhat keep my examples to myself, because I don't want to, I want you all to think and come up with your own, because I think that's more fun, especially for me. And, but I couldn't help but think of, like when you're growing up. And I actually did not grow up with siblings. I was an only child. But my neighbors, who I was very close with, and, family of multiple children. And it was always fun to watch them growing up, because if you don't think kids negotiate, you have not hung around small children very long. But we started doing this at a very young age, even though we don't realize it. And siblings who pair together and try to get other siblings on their side, whether it be what are we going to get for go for dessert after dinner tonight, to what are we going to do on vacation, to what board game are we going to play this evening. And so I believe that we start forming coalitions and using those from a very young age, even though we may not realize that's what we're doing at the time or not. And so as we go through this week's discussion, keep those examples coming. Remember to continue to engage throughout the week as we go through here. And later on in the week, I'll be posting a longer video in the announcement board, just going over various topics in class. And so look for that. As always, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Thanks, everyone.